Welcome to the intersection of Black culture and horticulture with your girl, Colah B Tawkin. And guess what, y'all? We Black in the garden. From WABE Studios, welcome to Black in the Garden, the intersection between Black culture and horticulture. And on today's show, the intersection between Black culture, horticulture, and opulence with your host, Colah B Tawkin, because today we're going to talk about turning the luxury dial all the way up. We're going to turn it all the way up as we explore what it means to live your best, most extravagant plant-filled life, aka your Plantasy. Think of this as a mashup of lifestyles of the rich and famous, MTV's Cribs, and Vice TV's most expensivest. But for the plant lovers and fiends, yes, we are stepping into a world of opulence, indulgence, and green dreams where money is no object and no plant is off limits. This episode is being recorded right in the heart of winter. And that's a time when many of us gardeners find ourselves daydreaming about the next growing season. While the land might be resting, our imaginations are in full bloom, envisioning lush gardens, thriving greenery, and spring garden paradises. Winter is the perfect time to let our Plantasies run wild. In times like these, when the political climate feels increasingly heavy and so many of us feel like we're fighting for our lives, it's more important than ever to find moments of joy and inspiration. That's why this episode is meant to inspire, entertain, and remind you of the power of imagination. Sometimes the best way to push through or tune out the chaos is to spend time visualizing a life that not only feels desirable, but truly fulfilling. Today, I'm joined by our very special guest, our resident botanist who has a flair for the fabulous and a longtime friend of the show, Derek.
Hey,
welcome to Black in the Garden. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Old
Welcome
friend.
back. Welcome back.
Derek has been a part of Black in the Garden really since the beginning, since 2019. Love that for us. Our resident botanist. What was the other word you said? No, better leave that offline. Derek and I are going to explore what it would be like to live a plant-filled dream life. We're talking about the ultimate plant-inspired homes, luxurious gardens, ways to entertain and engage our communities, dream careers, plant-inspired travel and leisure, and even plant-based fashion. So grab your journals, okay, get your vision boards out, settle into your favorite cozy spot, and get ready to dream big. You're going to need the big cardboard for the vision board for this one. Soil Cousins, this one is for you. We're going to have fun too, but let's get into that. So my guest today is here to help us reimagine life as we know it, but through a luxurious plant-filled lens. So imagine this. You just hit the jackpot. Maybe you won the lottery.
Hallelujah.
Maybe that elderly 90-something woman that you married in order to get access to the inheritance, she left it all to you, and she done gone on to glory. Yes.
I'm a misser.
A long-lost relative. Maybe you didn't know them. Maybe they were loaded. Maybe they left you a massive inheritance. You just found out. You just got off the phone. Okay. Or let's say your thriving plant-based business suddenly gets acquired for millions. However the windfall comes about, you're no longer thinking about price tags, only possibilities. What are we going to do with ourselves? If money was no object, how would you live? What would your home look like? Would you have a sprawling mansion? Would it be maybe a rooftop garden? Maybe a cozy modern home with a beautiful indoor jungle? I see the wheels of your brain are turning. Tell us what kind of plants would be in and around your home.
My house would be immaculate, like spacious home. Ooh, in and around my home. Now let's start indoors. Indoors, I would have all of the aeroids I could have. I'm talking about philodendron, Thai constellation, ring of fire, okay? Musas, the bananas that be all variegated with whites and greens. People don't know about them. I would have them all indoor and some maybe even outdoor because I'd be fancy like that because I got the money.
Yeah.
I got the money to do it. I would have syngoniums to die for, and especially inside of my home, it would just be filled with, again, so many beautiful, delicious, decadent, rare plants because I would want to be able to start conversations about it being somebody's whole botanist.
Okay.
Now, outdoors, ornamentals and edibles galore, along with some natives. So muscadines.
That's so important. Native plants.
They are. They are, because we need the natives to support the pollinators. We need to support our local wildlife, right? I might be supporting somebody off of my money.
Yes.
I'm so rich.
Yes.
I might as well support the pollinators in the environment. So I'm talking herb gardens, rosemary, various mints, lavenders, lemongrass to go with my muscadines. Big purple juicy grapes all in my mouth. Cabbage collards, pomegranates, tomatoes.
We're having a good time.
I tried. I'm trying so hard. I would have pomegranates because I can grow them in my zone. I'm zone 8 now. It's formerly zone 7.
So you're not going to change zones?
Oh, I'm not going to change
we didn't
zones,
get to that part yet.
I'll
Keep
change
going.
different area codes later, like Ludacris said.
Period.
I would have echinaceas. They're native to North Carolina. I would also do the American wisterias, other beautiful plants, and magnolias. Big, beautiful magnolia trees.
You've thought this through.
I've thought this through. I've been thinking for years.
I can't let you keep going, babe. We got
stop?
other stuff to
Okay,
talk about.
Never mind then. You got me excited. I was hot to go.
Wouldn't you be excited if you won the lottery?
I would be.
You would be scrolling through all them plants that you're going to get. Let me tell you about what I'm going to get, okay? I love your vision.
Please.
Okay, let me just hold space for you. So I've been watching a lot of Architectural Digest.
Oh, really?
And you know when they do the celebrity home tours, and there's a lot of similar channels where they be getting in these people's business. And that kind of gives you an idea of, like, you know, inspiration and how the people are living when they can just do whatever they want. So I'm thinking, you know, I've watched one of my favorites, and it was the Parisian home of the Balmain creative director. Am I saying that right? Balmain? You know, because we country.
We is.
We are that.
I mispronunciate a word now.
But the creative director's name is Olivier Rousteing. And he was very proud to share in his home how when you go into the middle of the stairwell with, you know, the stairwell, it goes up a few stories, obviously. He got a 2-story tall palm tree. And I was just like, I love palm trees. So it was planted in a stairway. And I was just like, you know what? He described how they had to knock something down. All these people had to come in. They got to get the soil. They got to get a crane. They got to do all of that. You know, that's all I'm hearing is dollar signs.
Yeah.
So I figured, well, when I get all my riches, then I'm going to do something like that. I'm just going to stunt with the palm tree.
You better be stunting.
I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to stunt with a palm tree. Now, for example, I would have lots of big leaf energy. Didn't you have a shirt called Big?
I sure do.
I wear that on my avatar shirt. In fact, my headshot shirt for WABE.
We love that.
But let's go outside. Because
outside.
every Plantasy life needs a dream garden.
Ooh, it does, don't it?
Yeah. So what kind of garden would you have if you had unlimited resources? Wait, let's get more specific.
Please.
Would you go for a grand botanical garden or something experimental and futuristic? Maybe a beautiful food forest? Tell us about your ultimate outdoor space.
Now, you know I'm all for fighting somebody's food insecurity. So I would want to have, period out, period up. I would want to have a food forest. I would want to have apples.
Me too.
I would want to have Buddha palms, different citrus that I could have in North Carolina. I would have to move them in and out or have them in a greenhouse. But my garden would basically revolve around showing people what plants are and giving them that botanical garden realness while also centering the Black experience. So I would have different collard varieties that have been heirlooms for decades, right? Or even centuries. I would have cultivars of sugarcane and rice I can get from friends who have bred these things. Stevia, which isn't necessarily connected to the Black experience, but will be another plant that I would get in rice, representing my Gullah and Geechee roots and the Gullah Geechee people of the Carolinas, right? And I would just have a bottle tree, because what kind of country garden in southern yard is not complete with a bottle tree, which is a Gullah tradition?
Tell us more about what the bottle tree is for those who don't know.
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
Come on now.
Actually, I'm glad I know what this is, because we didn't have that scripted. So the bottle tree, in African practices, religious and spiritual practices, there was a thought that the color blue was spiritually significant, right? And that color blue could scare away spirits, could ward them off, or could trap them. And the people of yesteryear, our ancestry, would use glass, specifically shades of blue, in order to trap malicious spirits. And the bottle tree was a representation of that evolved as the enslaved peoples were brought to the Americas. So these bottles, these blue bits of glass, would be tied to a tree to represent malicious spirits being affixed there.
And if you're going to have all that money, you're going to make sure that you get all them malicious spirits caught up in the bottle tree before they come in there asking you for stuff.
Exactly, because you go ask me for money, you in that tree. So it would be just phenomenal. And I would want it again to be like botanical garden led or minded, because I want the people to be able to look at a plant and see what it is, right? So
you can label them.
Labels. Okay. I've been thinking about this for a while. So, because people often will look at plants and they have plant blindness and they just don't know what something is, right? When people are driving down the highway, you just see trees and grasses, but all of those plants have a specific name and a specific purpose and a specific history. So I would want the people to become familiar with those plants. And again, that's a conversation piece, because I like to talk and I like to talk about plants.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can get really fancy with those labels. So I love that you are thinking about how, you know, when you have this beautiful, luxurious, ideal space, that you're still making sure that the people get educated on what all the things are. Because not everybody can walk out there like you and just say, hey, this is that. And, you know, and maybe sometimes you need help, remember.
I do.
Yeah. So that sounds amazing. Was there any one more thing? Because you know how you like to carry on. One more thing.
One more thing. You know, I'll just have a bunch of roses. That's it.
Okay.
Nothing too big, nothing too small. Just roses.
And you wouldn't even have to paint them red or
not
like
Alice.
that, like on the Alice in Wonderland. And that's kind of a part of my fantasy, actually. That's a beautiful, we're singing.
We are running off of each other. It's almost like we've done this before.
We might have. So I would go wild. Okay. I would have all the acres that they didn't give my ancestors.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
All 40.
Nothing on my bucket list would be left behind. The girls would all want to get married on my land, you know, because it's going to be so pretty. And it's just, you know, look around like, oh, I just got to see.
A destination.
You know, a destination. I would recreate some of my favorite botanical exhibits. Back to Alice in Wonderland. Imaginary Worlds was the company that put together that exhibit that I first saw at Atlanta Botanical Garden. It really was a game changer for me. I remember getting to visit the greenhouse where they were putting it together, just as a humble volunteer for Atlanta Botanical Garden before we got connected in the ways that we have since I started the Black in the Garden podcast. But I would also... You remember on the movie Wicked, when they went to the Munchkin Land and it was all of the tulips and just this wonderful, fantastical flower field for frolicking. Okay, because we just need one just for frolicking. But of course, the pollinators are going to come out. So it'll be a pollinator sanctuary.
That is amazing. Now, you never told me you was down to frolic.
I am DTF all day, baby. All right.
Oh, my God.
I'm thinking about Pearl Fryer. We've talked about him on the show before and his topiary prowess. Okay. He started his topiary garden out in South Carolina. At first, he started experimenting with topiary. He just wanted to have a beautiful garden because or yard rather, because he understood that the white people that he had moved in amongst did not see it for him. So they didn't think he was going to upkeep his land. You know how that's how white flight happens when black people move into neighborhoods because they don't think that black people are going to keep up their land. So he ends up just doing all these amazing topiaries as a result of getting obsessed with it and getting good at topiary. And now his land is being preserved as a topiary garden. So if you just, you know, ask Auntie Google about that, she'll show you some images. You'll get an idea. And then I'm also thinking about Christine Mays, who was another guest that we've had on the podcast. And she creates these wire sculptures that have also been featured at Atlanta Botanical Garden. So I'm going to collect a few of those. We have to support Black artists. Okay. So that's just a few things that I would do. It's really hard for me to not say everything I want to do because my bucket list is strong.
And we can't tell everybody our business.
And we also can't tell all the business. Y'all have to be there. So let's now talk about community. How would you engage the community? Because when you've got it all, you can't keep it all to yourself, right?
You shouldn't, but I probably would try.
Okay, but you're going to share a little something. You know your mom and them coming through. So how would you engage with your friends, your family, or even your neighborhood? Would you host plant-themed dinner parties, build a community greenhouse, maybe create spaces for people to connect through nature? What kind of things would you do?
So keep in mind, I don't think I said this, I'm going to have at least an acre or two of property because I need the land, and land ownership is important, especially
Seems very
amongst
modest. Just
Black
2?
people. Just 2, because
They owe you 40.
They do owe me 40, but I'm just going to take 2. Give me the other 38 over time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just
Sure.
go ahead and pay that off as a reoccurring payment. But I would literally host garden parties. And there's a friend I'm thinking of, Brie Arthur, who has hosted beautiful garden parties where you come out, you get to see her foodscape, you see how everything is going, you get some good foods, you get to talk to other people who are all plant geeks
Enthusiasts.
or people who are with somebody who's a plant enthusiast,
Yes.
right? And you just get to just have fun. And at my events especially, I would want to have Afrocentric foods because why not? You could go and get food that in some areas, and I'm thinking in North Carolina in particular, I could get food that is Indian, I can get food that is Mexican and Latin inspired, but Nigerian food, Zimbabwean food, even some food that are representative of like Afro-Caribbean experiences are kind of difficult to find and kind of difficult to have access to sometimes. So I would have that accessibility. I would brew sodas and limited time wines for this event.
From those grapes that you spoke of.
Them grapes and muscadines I was talking.
Yes.
I would have them going and brewing, and I don't even drink, but I would do it just for the people to have something to take with them. I know you would, and I'd give you a bottle. It would be just amazing. Speaking of even feeding people, I would want my garden to be set up where I can say, here is the food I'm growing for myself and those who are in community with me, right? And here is an area where even on my land, those who are in community with me can farm and garden. Because you may have a dream to have a passion for a farm, but you may not have the land for it. So I would have that ability, and I would even showcase art like you were saying. But I have this wonderful cousin. His name is Miles Wilder, and he is a phenomenal artist.
Your cousin?
My cousin. He be sculpting shoes and doing metallurgy and all this other stuff.
Oh, nice.
He be painting. He is just an artiste. He is phenomenal. And I would have all sorts of stuff outdoors, seminars, everything.
Wow. So you would put your cousin Miles' sculptures and things out in the garden? I love that. Because when we think about the gardens, we tend to think about the plants that we want to enjoy in those spaces. But they are also spaces for other types of sculptures. And there are so many possibilities for how we can showcase creativity in the garden. So, okay, my turn. Did I already do mine?
I don't think you did, but what would
outdoor
you do?
garden?
Well, because you're telling me about your community building.
Oh, the community. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so excited about all this money. I don't know what to talk about.
You've seen the dollar signs already, and you ain't even told me about your community building. What you gonna be doing?
My community building. I'm definitely gonna have some of those food forests. Definitely making sure that to the best of our ability, we are planting the trees that are. Is the word indigenous?
Native or indigenous?
Native, because they kind of we flip flop those terms.
We do. I think indigenous is more for people, and native is more for plants.
I appreciate that distinction. Okay, so I'll be planting those native trees, making sure we get those good fruits. I would definitely be hosting regular frolicking events in my spaces. Remember I told you about my frolicking flower fields?
Okay.
We're thinking about mental health. Okay, we need to do that for our mental health. We're not just doing it just to he, because that's good for your chakras and things, but it's definitely good for your mental health. So I would be partnering with placemakers in order to do similar types of things and grow similar types of spaces and frolicking spaces outside and in communities that need them, more than my little rich, fancy area is going to be. And I would be working with mental health advocates, of course, to spread awareness about how important it is to participate in that type of thing. And I would also have urban botanical pop-ups.
Ooh.
Could you imagine it?
Tell me what this would be.
Okay, so it would be in communities. We would do stuff like make flower bombs. We would create botanical installations in spaces that are like, maybe blighted in order to reimagine what those spaces could look like just from being intentional with how we add plants to them. So I'll just describe what a flower bomb is. We might as well, since we're on it. So you just take like some mud. You know the recipe. A little bit of mud, a little bit of clay, right? And you put the seeds in it and you just kind of like mix it together into a little ball. It don't really have to be a ball, whatever. But a nice little something that you could maybe toss somewhere or just intentionally plant somewhere. I like stop signs and stuff like that. And, let it grow and spread some joy. Kids love it. Now let's talk about our careers.
Ooh.
What would be possible if money were no object? How would that change what you do for a living? Because you could just really be doing what you want to do because you got the money to fund adventures, apps, not adventures. We're talking about career, but careers can be adventures.
Yeah, it could be.
You know, so would you still be working with plants? Would you explore something totally different? Maybe you would fund your own research center or create a line of luxury plants related products, botanicals, you know, retreats. What would you do?
What would I do? Let's see. I've always wanted to travel the world talking about plants and teaching about plants and really having the funds to go to areas where they may not be able to afford my speaking fee and traveling fee, but I could just go to those lower or the social economic areas that are in need and just give them what they need. And like even be able to install community gardens. I would get a greenhouse and I would support like an actual like legitimate big greenhouse, commercial greenhouse, and support research and breeding efforts of people. Again, having a space where they can do their research and they can do their work because plants are necessary for our future. And without them, we're nothing.
And you would leave, speaking of the future, you would probably leave some money behind. You do like they like to do where you leave the endowment and then they have to say the Derek Haynes, chocolate botanist, executive director of this. Because you know how they do.
They do it because they leave that money. And I would do that.
You're going to do that.
I would support, and that would be for supporting Black and brown researchers especially. Right?
Because chocolate botanist.
It's chocolate botanist.
Yes.
And that's the flavors of chocolate we're talking. So it would need it because Black and brown researchers don't get enough support as it is. But in the scientific realm, research into botany and plants can be an untapped market because in order for research to be funded, you have to have a funder. And it sounds simple enough. But if you don't have a funder who is truly believing in your dream and not trying to sway your results to fit some of their own needs, then you're kind of left out in the wind.
And you know what, that makes me think about some of the research I've done on Zora Neale Hurston in considering an episode discussing her botanical connections. Because, you know, she used to have a garden. She was actually a prolific gardener. And sometimes when she wasn't making the money she was supposed to make, she would sell produce from her garden in order to support herself. But Zora Neale Hurston did have, when I read her autobiography, they discussed how she had a benefactor. I don't know if I'm using the right terms, but she had someone who specifically gave her money in order to support the academic work that she was doing and the travel that was required in order for her to go and learn more about anthropology and stuff.
All of that would be dope. So that would be what I would do. And
that's
just
what you'll be doing.
Going towards letting people know about like real plant science and supporting Black and brown people being in science and academia. So it'd be dope.
Well, that was a lot that you would be able to accomplish. And I know that's not even telling us all of it because we got to save some for ourselves.
We do.
I love how your vision ties in with your passion, you know, and supporting young Black scientists and researchers like you once were. You know, you're still kind of young, but, you know, we're getting wiser.
We are.
So it's living your purpose, but make it luxurious. Okay. So I'm thinking about my career now, and it might be kind of reminiscent of Martha Stewart because I recently watched the documentary. Not the part where she goes to jail, not that part. Might smoke a little something with a few
you'll
people.
Snoop Dogg.
This is for cannabis research. Let's be very clear. But I would have a career similar to Martha Stewart, but without the drama, right?
Okay.
And creating media and helping young Black and brown individuals similar to you, but I would want them to understand how to use media to create and tell stories and just show Black people living this lifestyle of being engaged with plants in the natural world in so many ways. I'm thinking about Kev on Stage because, you know, he built a studio.
He did.
Yeah, he funded his, well, I wouldn't say he funded himself. I don't know all that man business like that, but I know that, okay, tell me more. You know more.
He did because I'm on his Patreon. So between him, his work and the Patreon, he's really funded himself and made a road for himself from being a creator we used to see on YouTube however many years ago to being a man who's now got a show that's been picked up by BET.
I love that for him. And he really, you know, we can we can look at people that are doing similar things as us when we're talking about being Black and connecting with plants. But when I'm thinking about media, sometimes I got to look past that, because creating media specifically to educate Black people about how to connect with the natural world and plants and stuff is not entirely a big focus for companies, you know? So creating botanical installations, I'm thinking about that too. I had a lot of fun doing that last year. I've been watching Plant Zaddy, you know, and seeing how many opportunities are available there.
Yes.
I want to learn a little bit more from him about how to make my stuff pop.
He is amazing.
And be able to create botanical installations that are to be considered in like artistic spaces, like galleries and stuff. I've seen some cool stuff around Atlanta with the art scene, and just recognizing what's possible as far as connecting art and botany. Okay. So I would definitely hang out at that intersection. So I'm also thinking about scholarships. Okay. Right? We got to give back. Scholarships and immersion experiences for kids, making sure that we're setting them up for the opportunities to learn more about planting and horticulture, agriculture, and all of the many things that are possible in these industries. And so making sure that we have the scholarships for funding there and having those immersive experiences so they can see what it's like hands-on, whether they're traveling somewhere special or just visiting farms or whatever. So now we done talked about work. Let's talk about vacationing. Okay. Because, you know, you working hard.
You got to play vacation hard.
You got to play hard. And you know, when you got lots of money, that's the thing. Fun way to spend it. So what are you thinking that you might do if you could travel anywhere in the world? What kind of places would you visit? Would you tour famous botanical destinations? Maybe hang out with celebrities, be all in their business, you know, traveling the globe, taking luxurious trips to rainforests, or maybe you could make your own plant-inspired travel experiences, or I don't know. What you want to do?
You know what I do?
Yeah.
I would be going to Africa. Let me tell you, I want to see all of it. Every country in the continent. I want to just see them all, see their plants and their landscapes. Because one thing I love to do when I'm traveling in general is to watch landscapes change. Yes. From like North Carolina's kind of ecotones and swamps in the East Coast where I'm from to kind of more clay, stable terrains of the Piedmont to the mountains of the Western, and then watching the plants shift from a bunch of pines on the coast to the city of oaks and all that other stuff. I would watch those plants just shift and change and be amazed. Okay.
So you'd be on a train.
That would be on a train,
a luxury
on a plane, on an automobile, taking pictures of everything. They would be sick of me.
They would be.
I'd be like, stop this train right now. I need to take more pictures.
Oh, so you got that. You gonna be doing that kind of stuff. You stopping the train.
I got the money. Wow. I got the special button.
They gonna be sick of you for real.
They gonna be sick of me, and I don't care. Because why? I'm rich, and that's what you do when you're rich.
Rewinding the train, talking about go back to that.
Back this train up. Put it in reverse. Dee, dee, dee. So it would be that, and I would want to especially learn, not just in Africa, but in a lot of areas, the cultural significance and histories of these plants, because that's really my Jimmy Jam. Plants,
what is that
history.
Called?
That's ethnobotany.
Period.
So the study of people and plants, how we interact with them, how they interact with us, how we influence each other, plants and people. So I would want to see all of that as well. It would be dope.
I'm into it. I would definitely like to join you on some of those expeditions. So it's very inspiring, rejuvenating even. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do.
What would you do?
I'm going somewhere too. I'm going to be outside. I'm going to be hitting up every continent, the warm ones. Yeah, not every single. Okay. To explore the most biodiverse destinations similar to you, because I know you want to go to Africa because of biodiversity. So you kind of took my answer. But maybe my first stop before I leave the country would be to go to Lotus Land in Santa Barbara. Have you heard about this place?
I have not. Tell me about them people.
Let me tell you, Lotus Land is a 37-acre. That's 37 acres.
That's a lot.
Botanical garden, and it's in Montecito. And it is a home to lots of biodiversity. In fact, over 3,000 plant species, many rare or endangered. Okay. So it was once the estate of an opera singer and a socialite, and she went by Madame Ghana Walska. Wow. And she acquired it back in early 1940s. In 1941, she spent 43 years transforming it into a renowned horticultural masterpiece. Ooh. And that's what you do. Like, I'm just kind of following in the footsteps of wealth. Like, you can have all the plants in your space and make it so awesome and dope and desirable of a destination that people want to come there. So just like the place that I described for myself, when I go to Lotus Land, I'm really just going to visit somebody else who already did that.
Yeah, you watching the blueprint.
But I just want to go see the plants, really. So shout out to Lotus Land. Y'all hit me up, though. I'll come out there. An airport that I'll be going to frequently, because, we got to travel. We got to get on these planes.
We do.
Is Changi in Singapore.
Okay.
Have you heard about the airport with the botanical garden in it?
I feel like I have, but tell me more, please.
Okay, so it's in Singapore, obviously. I'm watching the YouTube, so it gets my algorithm preferences down. So I just, somewhere out of nowhere one day, I see something about a botanical garden in the airport, and I'm like, what? What's really good? So it's a very large scale situation, lots of beautiful botanical plants, very unexpected kind of attraction to see at an airport. But, lots of lush, beautiful plants in Singapore, which is a place where people want to go visit anyway, because that's such a beautiful, biodiverse plant destination. And of course, I'm going to the motherland. I'm going to be spending winters there in many different countries in Africa. I'm going to be going to all the beautiful places that they don't show us on TV. Because, they like for us to think that it's just poor and we got to feed these children with 38 cents a day.
More than that.
There's biodiversity there, okay? So now we're going to dig into something a little bit more unexpected.
Ooh.
Soil Cousins, you already talk about fashion.
Fashion.
Oh. Yes, what are we going to put on? I know how much you love to don your plant apparel.
I do now.
In this Plantasy life, how would you express your love of plants with your style? Maybe you might want to design some clothes, plant-based fabrics. Maybe you'll be rocking accessories, like a big old Monstera chain. Like, I've never seen that. Let's put that on my list. Maybe you would be strutting in moss-inspired coats or, orchid earrings. I don't know. Orchid sweaters. Whatever suits your fancy.
I think what I would do, number one, is I would have to acknowledge that no plant would be able to survive around me after this, because my drip would be so much that they would drown. Okay.
I get it.
They would just be over water.
Yeah, it would just over water all the time.
We would need like all types of swampish plants to survive, be mangroves and such. But I would literally have that moss, because when you said moss inspired, it made me think of a moss like fur coat, but it's like green and mossy. And I'm walking down, my hair is up. I got my hair all up, and I'm smelling good, feeling good. Scarves with various plants like North Carolina natives, things important to Black people and Black culture. I would people would try to tell me I'm doing too much. But Luther Vandross said never too much, never too much. So because of that, I would just have to keep going. I would have wood adornments, wooden beads and bracelets and things in my hair that are botanical. And the one thing I would really, really be able to do, all of the Black creatives who are creating something that has a botanical print, right? A floral print, a plant influencer, a plant communicator. I would get all of their shirts. I would wear them like Martin and them used to do back in the 90s, where they would wear the HBCU stuff. I would be wearing all of their things. Floral zoot suits, how to keep flowers in my hair. So I'm smelling good and feeling good without getting some type of burn, because some of these plants, you put them in your hair, you can get some stuff on you that can burn you up. I would be doing all sorts of things now.
Wow. Head to toe.
Head to toe.
You said you're going to be drowning these plants in drip. I heard that. I think I'm going to do the same thing.
You is.
I mean, I might as well stun a little something. I'm going to be turning heads in all the best ways. So let me see what I would do.
What would you do now?
I'm thinking about a designer that I've become aware of when I got to visit the exhibit for their work at Scad Fash here in Atlanta. And the designer's name is Iman Ayisi. And he creates high fashion looks.
Really?
From botanical fibers, textiles, using all kind of really cool plant materials like raffia and APOC. It is a natural fiber that is harvested from the seeds of Kapok trees. That's Kapok. I like that word. I like how it looks. And he uses those in his haute couture creations. All right. And here's a fun fact. This self-sustaining material is known for its water resistant and hypoallergenic properties.
Wow.
Also, a sustainable alternative to cotton that requires no pesticides and even improves air quality.
That is beautiful.
When we think about using natural materials such as plants and extracting from just the right source, we can really do some cool things. I could talk for days about orchid earrings and fancy Monstera hats, but we're going to get into some rapid fire because we already been talking it up.
Well, I got a minute, man.
I heard that. So, would you get something exotic or just something very big?
It would be exotic. There's a variegated musa I would get. These variegated bananas, I'd get them already grown, and it would be beautiful.
So money's no issue. Are you going to hire a gardener or are you going to do it all yourself?
You know what? I think I'll hire somebody. I would hire a good black business, black or brown business.
I love that. Okay. What's the most extravagant plant-related project that you create?
I would want either an automated greenhouse or a growth chamber where I could just grow some plants, have it climate controlled, temperature, humidity, light, all of that watched.
I heard that. Now back to the house. What's one plant that you want growing in every room of your house?
Philodendron erubescens, also known as blushing philodendron. They are beautiful and the ancestors of the pink princess philodendron that most of us love.
Oh, okay. So if you could own a botanical garden, what theme would it have?
It would be black, but black fantasy.
Like Black Panther.
Black Panther, The Wiz, it would be all of that.
Okay, and that's leading right into the next. If you could have a plant from any movie or fantasy world, which movie or fantasy world would it be? Not plant, but movie or fantasy world.
So it would be the plants from Willy Wonka. I know most people think I'd say the heart-shaped herb from Black Panther. That's quick.
That's what I was going to say.
But see, you got to do a practice and a ritual. I ain't for that. But them plants from the Willy Wonka and them that taste like candy and that be making the candy, I get all them.
I didn't think about it like that. What's your ultimate luxury plant care tool or gadget?
It would be a temperature humidity sensor that I have in a mini greenhouse in my house. So that way I can know the temperature and humidity of the space and then optimize that space to grow my plants quicker.
So you would get the top of the line one that's just down to the point.
Yeah. Temperature, humidity, light. I want it all.
Okay. Well, this has been fun. Rapid fire. We did pretty good there. We was rapidish.
Bang, 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 bang.
Soil Cousins, today we have dreamed up our ideal homes, our careers, ideal gardens, travel plans, fashions, and our plans for our communities. But this wasn't just about indulging in Plantasy. It's about planting seeds of inspiration to help us imagine the lives that we truly want. Whether it's hosting a gathering, starting a new garden project, or simply making time to dream, every step towards that vision matters. Thank you so much to our amazing guest, our chocolate botanist, resident botanist here, Derek, for sharing their Plantasy life with us. Thank y'all for tuning in. We want to wish y'all love, light, and soil, but don't move. Make sure you stay tuned to Plant Zaddy for our watering moment.
All right, Plant Fam. Sometimes it's okay to live in your head, but dreaming big isn't just about fantasy. It's about planting seeds for the life that you want to grow. Today, we explored what life could look like if money wasn't a barrier. But let's not forget, even the grandest gardens start with a single seed. Dreams are like puzzles. Each piece, your passion, actions, and support for your community all fits together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. When we work together, sharing resources and lifting each other up, we create a picture of growth, connection, and beauty for the greater good. And remember, you don't need unlimited funds to create a life that feels lush and vibrant and full of joy, so start small. Whether it's adding a new plant to your collection, or creating a cozy green corner, or sharing your love for nature with your community, each step that you take is an act of intention, planting the foundation for a bigger dream. So just like that tiny seed pushing through the soil, your vision takes time to bloom. But when it does, oh baby, be ready, because it's not just for you. It's for everyone who's a part of your garden. So as always, Plant Fam, plant more and worry less. Plant Zaddy out.
I just started not feeling too good after a second. So I'm like, whoever it is.
Oh, dang. I'm glad nobody said nothing.
That be the ones. Don't be the ones.
Girl.
Oh no.
Ooh, some of
I'm like, I haven't had experience in how long.
Y'all need to replace the filter.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
I can't do no crime with none of y'all.
I just started, literally, my throat just started and my nose is, I'm like,
So you confessing that it's you that's finna get us sick?
no. I stayed in the house all day yesterday. I started going to Whole Foods. I'm good.
So you got all them Whole Foods people sick.
That's what they all right. So you did it.
I was there for 5 minutes.
All you needed was 60 seconds.
Oh my God.
Them particles already been released. All
Oh my
right.
goodness.
Let us continue. All right. Everybody got the sillies out?
Love life soil, we're reaping good deeds, enjoying all the spoils. Rooted in the land way back where we started, when we were black in the garden.
Black like the root of my hair, from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. Ay, yeah, black like the root